my Bahama land, yeah. Friends in every place, a smile on every face. Children at play, time with family today. Someone fill my plate, homemade bread, I can't wait. I can't get enough, I will always stay in touch with my Bahama land, yeah.
Rare Voice introduces Bahamaland, an unlimited nationwide calling plan for only $5 a month. So call home today and connect again with Bahamaland. Home never felt so close.
My Bahama land, yeah.
How much do members of Parliament and cabinet ministers owe in taxes? Meanwhile, the Minister of Financial Services doubts the value-added tax messenger's tax status will affect implementation. A shootout at Market Street leaves 2 men injured, and retired police officers claim they are owed millions of dollars. We have those stories and more coming up tonight. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Christina McNeil, and your MB12 starts right now. Thanks again for joining us. One government minister has vowed to expose those politicians, both in the House of Assembly and out, who are dodging their taxes. The question of whether members of Parliament and other influential Bahamians have been paying their taxes arose after Chief Advocate for Value-Added Tax Ishmael Lightbourne recently revealed he hasn't paid his property taxes in at least 10 years. While some government MPs have insisted that their payments are up to date, the Minister of Labour and National Insurance asserted today that the same can't be said for all politicians. Vaughn Toot reports.
Days after the Free National Movement called for the resignation of Chief VAT Advocate Ishmael Lightbourne, Labour Minister Shane Gibson accused the opposition of hypocrisy. Before heading into the weekly cabinet meeting today, Gibson told reporters he is certain there are both former and current MPs from both sides who have not paid all of their taxes. He threatened to release that information.
Because they're hypocrites. And when I finish disclosing the details of all of the persons, like I said, I'm not gonna limit it to persons who are serving now. I'm gonna expand it to persons who previously served, who while they served didn't pay their real property tax, and who subsequently ran ahead and caught some of the amnesty periods that we would have offered, and they paid their real property tax. And I'm gonna show you the hypocrisy in this.
How soon are you doing this?
Listen here, no, they could disclose ours, I'll disclose theirs.
Debate over government officials' tax status was ignited after Lightbourne admitted that he hasn't paid real property taxes in at least a decade. However, Gibson says the public would be shocked to discover which people in high positions are behind on their real property taxes. We asked how soon he plans to release that information.
Don't rush me. I'll get it for you. But all I'm saying is I'm going to show you the hypocrisy in this. I'm doing my research. When I am completed with my research, I will disclose the information, let the chips fall where they may, and let the public decide if anybody's being a hypocrite.
However, MyCal Member of Parliament V. Alfred Gray suggested that what's really hypocritical is government officials urging people to pay their taxes when they themselves are not. He urged his parliamentary colleagues to get their financial house in order to avoid an embarrassing situation.
Because, the Bahamian people are very funny. If they know that you're asking them to do something that you yourself is not doing, it becomes a conflict. And I don't know who owes taxes, that's not my business, but I would certainly want to prevail on my colleagues, whoever they are, that might be in arrears, to try and become current, so that when the debate starts in earnest, you can speak loud.
Financial Investments Minister Ryan Pinder, on the other hand, suggested it's unfair for any one person to be singled out and insisted that all Bahamians should pay their taxes.
Every Bahamian has an obligation to pay their taxes. I think it's as simple as that. I don't think it's if you're an MP or not an MP, or if you're a government employee or not a government employee. I don't think that's the issue.
However, some people have argued that members of Parliament and other Bahamians in public life should be leading by example by making certain their taxes are paid and that they are obeying all laws. Even before the Ishmael Lightbourne story made news headlines last week, Prime Minister Perry Christie admitted he had no idea whether his members were paying real property taxes. So we decided to find out for ourselves.
I mean, if I had a chance to avoid paying taxes, I would not pay any taxes. But I am a believer in obeying the law. And so I pay my taxes. And I will challenge anybody to find out that I do or don't.
I became current, I think, some time ago. But the fact is, at some point in time, I was behind myself, right? All of us fall. Listen here, tax? Look at BEC. Some people can't afford to pay their BEC, their light bill. The lights are off home. So what I'm saying is we're acting as though the last 10 years was these great 10 years where everybody was able to take care of all their obligations.
Opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis has said he will address this brewing controversy during his contribution to the mid-year budget debate in the House of Assembly tomorrow. Reporting from Rawson Square for NB12, I'm Voinique Toot.
Meantime, it seems Lightbourne is still hanging on to his job at the Ministry of Finance, saying yesterday the government would have to make the call on whether he leaves his position. When asked if he plans to resign in light of the controversy over his failure to pay property taxes, Lightbourne said that's a matter for the government to make a determination on. He was also tight-lipped when asked if he had any conversations with Prime Minister Perry Christie about his future employment since his admission over his tax delinquencies. The F&M called Lightbourne a flawed messenger, while others have suggested that this issue could weaken government's VAT message. However, Minister of Financial Services Ryan Pinder doesn't agree.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Thank you. No, I don't think it does at all. I think that the underlying philosophy behind tax reform in the country is sound and remains sound.
Pinder says governments across the world have struggled with tax compliance, arguing that the implementation of VAT could assist with that.
If you would have seen in my budget communication, we collect tax revenues far below what the average is throughout the world. And there's an obligation to have a voluntary compliance regime. Part of the initiative with respect to VAT is that VAT is actually a self-enforcing type of tax, and your compliance on a VAT basis will be much better because you have to file returns to get credits in order to be compliant with the system.
Well, a 22-year-old man is facing 3 counts of attempted murder and armed robbery in connection with the home invasion of retired college professor Judith Blair. Adrian Stubbs of Fleming Street appeared before Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt today, charged with the attempted murder of Blair, Marvin Blair, and Moses Blair on February 11th. Stubbs is also accused of robbing Mrs. Blair of $1,800 cash and a Samsung cell phone valued at $700. Marvin Blair of a wallet containing $370 and Moses Blair of a red bag worth $90. Stubbs is also accused of receiving a black Hewlett-Packard laptop that belonged to Mrs. Blair. Stubbs was not required to enter a plea to the charges and has been remanded to prison. He makes his next court appearance on May 15th when it is expected the matter will be transferred to the Supreme Court by a voluntary bill of indictment. Stubbs was not represented by an attorney. And 2 men are nursing gunshot wounds tonight following what is being described as a shootout off Blue Hill Road. Authorities say they are very concerned about these daylight shootings and have confirmed they are, for the most part, fueled by retaliation. Jasmine Bonmi was at the scene and filed this report. We warn you that this story contains graphic images.
Police say just before 10 a.m., gunshots rang out in the area, and at the end of it all, 2 men were on the ground bleeding, suffering from several gunshot wounds. According to Superintendent Stephen Dean, the victims were in a yard off PANZA Court around 9:30 this morning when the shooting incident occurred. NB12 understands the men were arguing before allegedly opening fire on each other. This footage obtained by our news team shows the pandemonium that broke out after the shootings. As you can see, one of the victims is lying face down on the road as a man overcome with emotion stands over him. Officers on the scene repeatedly attempt to pull him aside. Police say both men were shot several times and taken to hospital. At the scene today, police collected this handgun and shotgun that were found not too far away from the victims. This shooting incident follows 2 murders on Sunday and another last night. Dean says police intelligence indicates that retaliation is the motive behind the most recent incidents.
Police are really concerned about these broad daylight shootings that are happening, particularly in these communities where people are walking, children are walking. And so we have stepped up our patrols in these areas. We have increased patrols, but we have to now redouble our efforts based on what we see in this trend of these broad daylight shootings. And so we are taking it very serious. Generally, the incidents that were being happening in the past days, they were incidents of retaliation. They were evidence that suggests that it was retaliation.
Resident Edward Roker said he heard the gunshots but thought they were firecrackers.
Well, I heard gunshots, but I thought firecrackers. Okay? And when I did look in the area, I saw young men and people running. I didn't went in the area because I don't have no ammunition. After I looked in the area, I realized they were saying we're shooting. So I didn't go in the area at all. I just stand off and watch. A few minutes after, the policeman arrived. The ambulance arrived.
The 56-year-old who had been living in the area all his life said despite all the violence, he's not afraid to live there.
When we fight with rock and bottle. Okay? Today the young man fighting with guns and etc. Okay? So what motivated crime, I can tell you. So now as the government, this is a big thing for them to do. Start taking crime serious. Murderers should be hanged.
Police say they are following significant leads in this latest case. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Bonamy.
Well, 3 men dead by violent means in 3 days. Last night, police discovered the body of a man left dead on a jitney. The driver of a Route 1 public service bus pulled up to the Southern Police Station on Market and Kwaku Streets, alerting officers to the body of a man on the bus. Police say the man, whose identity has not yet been released, was found lifeless with what appeared to be a gunshot wound to the lower body. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Assistant Commissioner of Police Anthony Ferguson says police are still trying to determine exactly where the shooting took place and who is responsible.
From all indication, it appears as if there were some persons other than the driver and this individual on the bus, and we are appealing to those persons to come forward if they have any information to the police and provide the police with that information. That is much needed to assist the police with their investigations.
Also, police on San Salvador are investigating a suspected drowning on that island. According to reports, an 87-year-old man was snorkeling with a female friend in waters off Club Med Resort on San Salvador when they believe he drowned. His identity has not yet been released, but he was pronounced dead by the island's doctor. Investigations on San Salvador continue. Coming up, retired police officers seeking to claim years' worth of unpaid gratuities.
It is our estimation that it's in excess of over $100 million that is expected to be paid out.
But first, where does the Bahamas stand on the controversial issues of legalized or medical marijuana? Find out more when NB12 returns.